Will it fluctuate? That is the question.
Hello, and welcome to this week's installment of Gravitational Fluctuations, Saratoga High's exclusive science series. I'm your host, Alex Lun, and today we'll be discussing the physics of grappling with Mr. Aaron Wong, an esteemed black belt in Kung Fu.
Hello, fellow students. I am Aaron Wong, and I am a first-degree black belt in Swai Jiao, a style of Kung Fu. With me today is my brother, Trevor. We are both professionally trained, and today we are going to show you a lot of different techniques. None of these should be done at home. The most important part of any martial art is personal safety. Today I'm going to teach you how to land correctly. When you're falling to the ground, you want to avoid reaching towards the ground with your hands. When you land on your hands, you run the risk of breaking your wrist, injuring your elbow, or injuring your shoulder. Watch as I demonstrate the correct way to fall. Notice that when I land along the side of my body. By doing so, I minimize the impact per square unit of my body, which allows me to get up and keep fighting even after I take a fall. This technique is called hip throw, also known as an ogoshi.
In the hip throw, the fulcrum is at the point of contact between the hips of the two fighters. This causes the body of the person being thrown to turn into a lever. The pulling of the arm and the twisting of the hip causes perpendicular forces creating a torque, forcing the person being thrown to rotate around the fulcrum.
This technique is called a shoulder throw, also known as seonage in Japanese.
In the shoulder throw, the fulcrum is at the shoulder of the thrower. The force of the thrower's legs and the pulling of the arm creates two opposite perpendicular forces on both ends of the lever, causing a large amount of torque. This causes the person being thrown to rotate quickly around the thrower's shoulder.
This technique is called leg blocking, also known as harai goshi.
In the leg blocking throw, the fulcrum is at the hip of the thrower. The sweeping of the thrower's leg, pulling of the thrower's arms, and the rotation of the hips cause rotation of the lever around the fulcrum.
I call this technique pulling, also known as taotoshi.
In the pulling throw, the fulcrum is the point of contact between the two fighters behind the thrower's calf. The immense amount of force caused by the rotation of the thrower's hip and the pulling of his arms forces the opponent to rotate extremely quickly around the fulcrum.
This technique is known as chopping, also known as osotogari.
In the chopping throw, the thrower first steps behind his opponent, causing him to become off balance. By doing so, he shifts his opponent's center of mass off his legs and behind them. Gravity acts as rotational force on the person being thrown. Then, the thrower applies pressure on the upper body and sweeps backwards with his leg, increasing the rotational force, causing the person being thrown to accelerate around his center of mass and fall to the ground. Now, let's review the throws we've seen today.
That concludes our demonstrations. Remember, don't do these at home.
Thank you for watching this week's installment of Gravitational Fluctuations. We hope to see you next time. But for now, keep fluctuating.